Hey, this is Lester Martin, and I want to take a few minutes and just maybe capture a video of something I demo pretty often, and it's about taking a tool called Apache Ranger. The URL is right here on the screen here, ranger.apache.org, and using that, it's more of a policy management server and auditing server, etc. Using that to secure Apache Hive. And specifically, I want to do some use cases. Let's see if we can capture those good old use cases we'd like to see. One would be to create some table restrictions. Just good old preventing someone from seeing a table. And then we also want to do some column restrictions, so preventing one or more columns from being accessible by a group of people or a person or whatever. And then we might as well try to do some row level restrictions. So column level, row level restrictions. So I'll just say row restrictions. And once we've done that, why don't we also try to do some data masking? See if we can make some particular columns, make the data in there unreadable, mask them out, that kind of stuff. We'll show you that. And lastly, let's try to do some tag-based restrictions. So we'll see what I mean by that. Identifying metadata with some other metadata, and then building restrictions or policies against that. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Yeah, we want to focus on. So let's get started. Let's work on this table restrictions first. So let me go ahead and show you what I did do. I have up on screen a Zeppelin notebook. I already logged in, I already have some queries, and I actually went ahead and created some policies to kind of get us started to see how things might work. So here's a quick query I'm going to run. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. And what you might have noticed is kind of ugly, but if you look really closely, I've got a Hive SQL exception. So it's a Hive table for European countries. And actually, I failed with the permission denied. This user, Jim Developer, he just doesn't have select privileges correctly on the screen on this particular table, EU countries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle over to my Ranger tool. This is the Apache Ranger. I'm already logged in and everything. So I'm going to click on the audit screen. And what I want to do, I think I have it already set up. Yep. So for today, for user Jim Developer, service type Hive, I went ahead and set that up. And if I look at my clock way up here in the corner, it's 7:03 p.m. So I ran some tests a bit ago. So ignore those. Everything. This is the one that just failed. Jim Developer, Hive, EU countries, etc. Denied. And just for fun, we'll click on the policy ID on the left that denied us. And we'll take a quick peek. And we'll go edit these in just a few minutes. I want to just show you maybe walking in and having a problem, what might be going on. So there's a service Hive here, etc., etc. And basically this policy says, hey, for the table EU countries and all columns, let's let the public users, that's everyone, select. But someone got wise and way down in there, they went and created a deny condition on my specific user. Hey, Jim, he can't do anything. So that's what's happening. So it prevented us from doing that. We could go audit that. Well, I guess we can take a look at it. Let's go back up to Resource Manager. So it's policy 38 there. And if I go under, so Ranger can work with a bunch of technologies. I'm just focusing on Apache Hive for a moment. And if I look for 38, which is right here, I click on it. Basically, this is just the editing screen of what we just saw. And all I would have to do is get rid of this row that's denying Jim, and he'd be off and running. But I'm going to leave it there just for fun. It's kind of neat. I also have a query right after that, so we can go ahead and kind of collapse that. There's nothing to see there. I have another table. Now this one, I know it's going to run just fine. I'm looking at the US customers table. Big, long, wide table. Nothing all that special. Whoops, went too far. See if I can get back over there. Zeppelin in one piece. There we go. So why don't I look in Ranger and see if that thing. So I'm going to refresh this search screen. And there we go. Same guy, Jim Developer. That's me. Customer, well, I'm Lester, but the pretend user, Jim Developer. He was allowed, and this time it was policy 78. So I'll click on 78, and if you look at it, it's basically saying for these two tables, customers and customer transactions, etc. Pretty much just let public select on this thing. We did the trick about Jim. We actually locked Sally user down. She can't do anything, but let's not waste our time and look at that. We just visualized and demonstrated that just a moment ago. So that's an easy way to do table level restrictions. We just did everything in there. So if we want to mark that complete, which I would like to, there should be a nice here. We'll just say done, dash dash done. That one's all done. Now the column restrictions really aren't any more complicated than we just saw. So I went ahead and I just created another table a little lower. Let's go ahead and clear all that out, get out of the way. I went ahead and just identified a couple columns in that same table. I picked the customer number, and there's actually a blood type in there. So his blood type, her blood types O pos and A negatives and that kind of good stuff. And if I wanted to create a policy that prevented, and we're just going to pick on Jim. We would obviously work in groups or roles or whatever, but just to keep the exercise going, let's go ahead and manipulate that. So what we would do is we go back to the Access Manager for Hive, and then I'm just going to create a net new policy. Add a policy. This one we're going to say no blood. We don't want anybody to see the blood column. Well, we don't want Jim to see the blood column. So let's see here. The database name was Hortonia, I think. Hortonia Bank. Yep. And the table is U.S. customers. Yep. And then we're going to focus on that one column, blood type. Oops, not blood type. See if it'll catch up. Yeah, sometimes it's a little slow. We'll just type the whole thing in there and help it out. Blood type. All right, so this is the resource, that particular column. And then we're just going to go the other direction. We already have a policy that prevents the world, that lets the world in here, but let's just deny good old Jim from selecting. So he can't select. Let's see if I got that right. Whoops. Yeah, deny select on Jim for this column blood type. If that's all good, we'll go ahead and hit a save on that. We'll add that. Policy created. So let's switch over and run this again. Now, I can tell you that Ranger is hooked up with tools like tools like Hive via a plug-in architecture, and there can be a delay up to about 30 seconds. So I was pausing and rambling for a minute to hope that when I hit the run button that it failed miserably like it just did. So in the future, I'll just go quickly hit it. If it works or doesn't work appropriately, we'll just hit it a few times. But yeah, the same thing. Hey, we failed, permission denied. And really we just want to go back into Ranger's audit screen and make sure what we just saw is really what just happened. So I got a 70816. My clock says 708, so that's probably it. Policy 83. Yep, the policy of no blood is fired because Jim was denied select on that column. Just to verify that he's still okay, if we went back into our query and, we just ran, just stick an extra one in there, Hive. And if we just said, hey, you want to select number from, we'll just grab the whole thing there, from boom, 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 click, click, boom, 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 boom. If we want to run that again and verify that, if we're touching things that are not that column, we're just fine. We're no problems at all. All right, so that actually, clear some output, that actually shows us what we were looking for here, which was some column restrictions. Also done. Let's kind of clean up as we go, because I want to keep using the same table and column to show a bunch of different things. So what I will do is go back into the policy page, go under Hive, and I'm just going to throw away that no blood. So I'm just going to hit the trash can, toss it. Should be all clear. We'll just validate it's clear by running that query a couple times. Like I said, if that policy might take a few seconds to push out, you can actually go initiate the kind of refresh on your own, but I guess we're going to get the full 30 seconds. All right, so this is where I talk about awesomeness and how great things are and how fun live demos are. And I'll give it one more push and see what happens. Yay, there it goes. We got the blood back, which is kind of what we wanted. All right, again, took care of our column restrictions. Now, that probably wasn't that hard, but what if we want to do some row level restrictions? In this case, I think what we could probably do, if we look at, I think I said, I went down here. I have another query, we'll run him. That says basically the same thing, but let's just look at everything that starts with A. Let's grab about 50. I see some A plus, some A pause, some AB plus. I don't know if there's AB negative. Lots of good stuff. So let's do ourselves. Usually we probably would make it like let someone see certain ones, like see only A pause or whatever, A positive. But let's do the opposite. Let's actually create a row level filter that prevents Jim from seeing these A pluses, which seem to be the vast majority of anything that starts with A. All right, how might we do that? Well, let's see. We're into a row restriction, so why don't we go back into, we're kind of already there, but I'm going to go back up one just for giggles. Look at Hive again, and then I'm going to do a row level filter. All right, same as before. We'll say no A positive blood. No A positive blood for good old Jimbo. So he is in Hortonia Bank. And the table again is U.S. customers. And the column, well, we're going to build a row level, so it doesn't matter what column. So what we're going to do is for our user Jim, let's tell Jim that, Jim, yep. Let's say, hey, Jim, on your selects, we want to put a filter, and the filter is really actually just SQL that's going to get injected in the where clauses. So we'll just type out blood type is not equal to A plus. So our filter is kind of a reverse filter. Don't let Jim see A positive. You know, if it was a worldwide orders and you only want someone to see US orders, you might say, order starts from US or something. But we're going to prevent A positive. All right, so we got our filter on Jim. I should talk for for 30 seconds to make sure it all clears up. But what we'll do is clear some outputs because that'll take a few seconds. Here we go. Let's run the anything with A percent. And as a reminder, it is mostly A plus, a few A minuses, a few AB minuses. So let's see what happens when we run it this time. Well, it still didn't pick up our rule, so I'm going to click it a few more times, and there we go. It actually grabbed it that time. So from this point forward, it's got a cached copy of that policy, and what do you know? The blood types are all A minus and the ABs, but there's not any A plus in there because that was the row level filter that we created. So pretty slick indeed. Let's, for fun, let's just, again, chunk that rule away. It's not that useful anymore. It's gone. And if I look at my notes, we could arguably say that we also completed the row level security, row level restrictions. What's up next? Why don't we talk about doing some data masking? What do I mean by that? Well, I really just want to make sure that when I run this query, now let's see if it actually gives us our A positives back. I think I deleted that whole query. There they are, A pluses are showing back up. So what I want to do is actually let Jim query blood type. So we got rid of the row restriction earlier, squeeze me the column restriction so he can see it. We let him see all blood types. It took the row restriction. We just want to mask this blood type a little bit so he knows the column's there but just really can't see the data. How might we do that? Oh, heavens forbid. Look at that. Heavens and Mercantroid. There's a masking column, a masking option here. So very similar. We're going to do another thing. We're going to say mask the blood. Keep using my silly names here. Mask blood. Same. We don't need a policy label. Let's do Hortonia Bank again. And let's use that same table. U.S. customers. And the column is blood type. There she is, blood type. So for blood type, again, picking on Jim. We could do everybody, but we'll just keep picking on Jim. And what are we doing? A mask type. So we would say same things for selects. Let's also create a masking rule. Now we have some options. Actually, there's a newer version of Ranger that actually gives you a few more, and there's custom, but I'm just going to use redact, kind of like I guess the CIA likes to redact things. So let's redact the blood type. Error, creating policy. What did I forget? Please ensure the users and groups are via the access policy does not implicitly grant them. Okay. What did I miss? Read that one more time. Please ensure that these folks listed have access to the column via an access policy. This policy doesn't implicitly grant them access to that column. So I'm pretty sure Jim Developer has access to blood type because I deleted. There we go. I guess it actually probably had a cached copy itself of that earlier one that said Jimbo couldn't see blood. But there we go. We've got it back in. So let's see if we can run that same blood thing. And if you remember, we're hoping this would be masked, redacted. That's the masking choice we did. So we hit one. Let's see if we can hit it again. Still not out there. Any second now, we'd expect it to work. Okay, I got nothing that time. That was extreme redaction, huh? I'm not sure if that was an error, but we'll run it one more time and see. Must be doing something wrong here. Well, you know what we'll have to do? We'll just hit pause and I'll figure out what's up and then we'll start back up. Hold on one second. Well, I figured out I was completely foolish. What I was doing below was actually running this query where we were looking for things that start with A, but it was masked and it took that into account when I should have been running the query right above it, which was, hey, just show me some of them. So here they are redacted. Now, if you went and looked at the docs, redacted does things like put X's and place characters and ends for numbers and that kind of stuff. And the reality is for this particular data element, redaction probably didn't get us quite as far as we wanted. It let us at least know whether they something positive, something negative. So why don't we change that type? So we'll go edit the mask blood and let's just change it from redaction to just like a big old nasty hash. Okay, save that off. Policy updated. Run the query and run it again. And I guess we're in that cycle. Let me pause and so we don't wait the 30 seconds. There it is. It finally finished. I'll run it again for you. There we go. We just turned it into a hash. Took that value and splatted it, create some big nasty thing. That's not bad. There are other options. If you think about a social security, a credit card, national ID, those kinds of things. There are things phone numbers, or things we can do, and there are good defined masking options already there. But I just want to show you the concept of data masking. Okay, so let's mark that thing done. And why don't we go ahead and while we're here, just throw away that data mask as well, because we're going to try one more thing that I think will be more useful in this situation. And I just want to make sure we got rid of it and it's working here. So what might be better instead of masking is actually identify something like blood type as some kind of, personal information or something of that nature. So what we shall do, let's clear this out so I don't have that silly mistake again. Maybe what we can do, instead of explicitly going to Ranger and picking explicit columns and stuff, what if we could put like a data governance hat on? What if we could go to like a sister tool here called Apache Atlas? And an Apache Atlas has concepts like classifications. So you see a bunch on the left here. PII, personally identifiable information, reference sensitive, data quality, all kinds of cool classifications or tags often referred to in Ranger. And what we'll do is we'll create another classification. Let's call this one PHI, and that stands, I believe, for Protected Health Information. So we've got this new cool classification of data, but we haven't really assigned it to anything. So what we could do here in Atlas, these tools are very aware of each other. Let's go ahead and look for a Hive column called blood type. We could have drilled down, but we got here. oh my goodness, there are 4 different Hive columns on different places with types. And I can click in and learn about that table, but let's just do ourselves to find out what table it is. Let's just add table to the list here. Okay, good. What we're talking about is we'll just focus on U.S. customers. So U.S. customers, a whole bunch of different ways to do this, but I'll do it here. We're just going to add that classification of PHI. PHI. Notice this propagate. I'll show you that in a second. So we push that on there, and in fact, what happened is it said, hey, look, there's a table called U.S. customers, and then another table called U.S. customers transactions, and there was PHI that we just added, and then there's just one I can't change. Just for fun, we'll just kind of take a few moments, and we're only seeing just a teeny bit of what Apache Atlas, a governance tool, can do for us. We're going to focus, here's the table and stuff. I'm going to kind of go to this tab called lineage. And what we see here is this table is actually, this is our US customers trans, is actually getting populated. If you look really closely, what popped up, it says and sort into the transactions table, select data from the customers table. So we're actually set our classification here, but we allowed it to propagate on that column down to something else. So that's kind of neat and cool. Nothing that we need to worry about too much now. So we have some kind of classification, assigned it to metadata about a table. And what do we want to do now? This allows us to kind of separate concerns. Let someone manage the metadata about tags or classifications such as PII. And then what we can do here is we can actually create a tag-based policy. So here we're not going to go find all the places that have PHI. We're just going to go set up a policy against everything that is linked to PHI. So let's see what that might look like. I'm just going to call it hide, restrict, hide PHI, public protected health information. And the tag we're looking for, of course, is the one we just created, there it is, PHI. And so this is the new entity. This could span not just Hive and a bunch of Hive tables, columns, etc. Could span other technologies, Kafka, HBase, so on and so forth. But we'll focus here. And like before, actually we want to hide Jimbo. Let's go deny Jim developer. Oops, Jim developer. And we want to say Jim developer, we're going to say the component Hive. So we could actually add other components here, such as HBase or others, and mix and match all kinds of cool permissions. But let's just focus on Hive only. And then we're just going to focus simply to say select. We're trying to prevent select right now for Jim developer to see any data that's associated with PHI. What data do we associate? The blood type. So I should have hit the save button while I monologued a little bit, but nonetheless, that policy was created. Hopefully by the time I get over here and click run, it was pushed. And if what we expect to happen is that we're going to kind of go back to what we had before. This query should fail with a security problem because Jim is not allowed to see the column blood type. So we'll click it a few times until the policy gets pushed out there. Again, that could take up to about 30 seconds, and there it goes. It blew up. Got the same thing again. Got an access control exception. And as you notice, I didn't keep going back to the audit over and over again like originally, but definitely for this one, since it's a tag base, let's take a look at the auditing in 725, 724, 45. So that was probably him. Jim doing a select, etc. So let's hit policy 86 and make sure that was our policy called hide PHI, which is a tag-based policy. And there it is, Jim just can't select it. So what's pretty darn cool about that is, you have to close your eyes and imagine, but you can start to do, separation of concerns, as I said, the person who's managing tools like Ranger, setting a permission on who can see PHI as a different responsibility of who is mapping PHI to information. So again, I hope these use cases were interesting and useful. A whole lot more to both of these tools, especially Atlas, that I barely touched. But great features to do Apache Hive restrictions and policies using this really awesome tool called Apache Ranger. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.